Breaking right now at 7, a heavy police response in a Cary neighborhood. What we're learning.
Record heat, much needed rain, and a cooler end of the week. I'm timing out all the big weather swings, including when we return to freezing temperatures.
Murph, the ACC tournament's here.
And the league is much deeper than last year.
But can anybody beat Duke?
Probably not.
Let's talk about it at Murph's turf.
Thank you for joining us here at 7 o'clock. We got a lot to talk about. The price to park downtown in Raleigh going up. We find out if a new state law is actually doing anything. And we asked Murph if one of the teams in the ACC, in the Triangle particularly, can make some noise in the tournament. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. Yes, we have a lot to talk about tonight. And we want you to be part of the conversation. Here's our email address, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Tell us what you want to see on the news. Ask us follow-up questions. Offer some feedback. We want to hear from you. Let's start tonight with a breaking story in Cary. What appears to be a SWAT team presence in Cary. Grace Holland is keeping an eye on for us in the WRAL Live Center. What can you tell us, Grace?
Well, that armored truck cleared in the last few minutes, but if you look at this home right here, we've seen investigators going in and out of that. We did just learn from Cary police in the last few minutes that they were serving a search warrant here for domestic violence protection order violation. We're working to learn more about this, but again, investigators still on scene there.
Okay, thank you to Grace. We move to another story now that's happening here at 7 o'clock. A Raleigh man is facing a long list of federal charges for crimes against children. One girl just a few months old. We have Eric Miller. He's following this case for us tonight, live in downtown Raleigh. Eric, we should warn some people. Really disturbing details here.
These are disturbing details here, Dan. The FBI announced this arrest today. You see the court documents right here coming out of this case. Andrew Swenson is the man who has been arrested. He's currently facing charges for coercing a minor and producing child pornography. Now, according to the documents and the FBI, all of these crimes played out between November and January of this year. According to the documents, Swenson met a 13-year-old girl online after another person had essentially advertised her for sexual abuse. Swenson then chatted with her through online social platforms like Zangi and Discord, eventually getting her to send him sexually explicit videos and photos. Now, after the FBI made this arrest, they say that Swenson then voluntarily showed them more photos and videos, including pictures and video of himself sexually abusing a 6-month-old baby. Now, if Swenson is convicted on these charges, he could face up to life in prison. We're going to continue to follow this case very closely. We're trying to reach out to Swenson as well, and we'll bring you any response he provides as soon as we get it. In Raleigh, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
It changes virtually everything
Disturbing.
about downtown parking. I think it will shock the downtown economy. That is your quote of the day, coming from Bill King, the president of the Downtown Raleigh Alliance. He's talking about another set of changes on the way for parking in downtown Raleigh. The city has been trying out a first 2 hours free model, but it appears that that's going away. In fact, the city is looking at doubling the rates for on-street parking. You know, it's really a simple numbers problem. The expenses are high and the revenues are low, and the city has to do something about it. But that could come at a cost for visitors and local businesses. WRAL's Sean Gallagher has the story.
Yeah, there's a song called Copperline.
Copperline Plant Company can be a breath of fresh air.
So a lot of folks, especially my generation, are leaning towards their indoor plants as that deep breath and as that respite.
But for owner Anna Grace Fitzgerald, parking changes on the horizon has her holding her breath.
No, I can't afford that.
The city is considering reducing free parking to 1 hour in its garages and doubling the on-street parking rate to $2.50 an hour to be charged all day, 6 days a week.
I think it's a really aggressive proposal. It changes virtually everything about downtown parking.
Bill King with the Downtown Raleigh Alliance says the 2-hour free parking pilot has sparked nearly $4 million in economic impact to businesses downtown.
But these changes could be cutting into businesses' bottom lines. The city wants to eliminate a parking program that could help small businesses like Fitzgerald's, taking away 10 free spots in garages like this, taking them from $0 to $60 a month per person.
It doesn't seem like it's a really big number in the grand scheme of things. That is not sustainable for us.
For her and her employees.
Essentially foregoing, almost half of an entire shift for them.
But for the city to maintain its 10 garages, something's got to give.
Due to our current pricing strategies, we're unbalanced.
And the city council knows it.
Yeah, we do need to invest in these parking decks.
Councilmember Megan Patton supports some sort of rate increase, but needs to see more before she can agree to support these options presented by the city.
We told the manager some other options we'd like to see evaluated.
Fitzgerald's hoping a light bulb goes off for the city.
So the shop, the plants closest to the windows, really need brighter light at home.
So businesses like hers don't go dark.
No plant can do no light.
One frustration Patton shared with me here is revenue streams. State law keeps the city of Raleigh from spending on-street parking revenues on off-street structures like this one. That's why changes are necessary for both here. In Raleigh, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
Tonight's good question comes to us not from the 7 p.m. inbox where we usually find them, but from inside the house this time. WRAL's Heidi Kirk wanted to know about a new law on the books in North Carolina. Her question: how is Arena's law being used, and how does it differ from what was in place before? And it is an important and a good question. And it was the subject of Heidi's story for the day. She went to find some answers on this. A quick recap for you, though. Arena's law is named for the woman who was killed last year on a Charlotte light rail train. And that law requires judges and magistrates to follow stricter pretrial release standards for some people charged with crimes, mostly because the man charged in her death had a long criminal history, a record of mental illness, and was out on bail at the time. And since it is passed, references to Arena's law are becoming more and more common inside the Wake County courtrooms, especially when establishing conditions of release. District Attorney Lauren Freeman spoke to Heidi about this. She says that the law now requires judicial officials to state why exactly they are setting certain conditions for the release of someone, and sometimes it's actually tying their hands a bit.
Historically, judicial officials had broader discretion based on the case in front of them, based on the individual's criminal history, what they had been charged with, to determine what an appropriate condition of release was. Arena's law has really narrowed, to some extent, that discretion.
It also says that Arena's law has led to more people being held without bond at all, or with a secured bond. A common critique there has been that this is going to ultimately create a big backlog in the court system and strain our jails. Here's what Freeman had to say about that.
It takes years to build new detention facilities, and so if we're not careful, you end up in a situation where you've got an overcrowding problem within your detention facility. Are we there today? No, but could we get there very quickly? Yes.
Freeman tells us that the thing to watch is how this law impacts the jail population in the years to come. And of course, we will be watching, albeit with a new Wake County District Attorney in place. That's because Freeman did not run for re-election this year. Wiley Nickel won the Democratic primary last week, and he doesn't face any opposition on the Republican side during the general election. Sometimes our 7 o'clock good questions come from inside the newsroom, but most of the time they come from you. So keep sending those emails. 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Your questions, comments, and feedback help to drive this newscast. We may even respond to a couple of them at the end of tonight's show.
Let's roll through some of today's big headlines. Here are 5 things you should know right now. Renewed calls for safety measures after a man was stabbed to death on a popular Durham trail. Investigators returned to this part of the American Tobacco Trail today. So far, no arrests have been made. Durham police have not released the name of the man who died or have told us whether or not he knew his attacker. The mayor told us he is waiting on safety recommendations, which could include more lighting on parts of the trail. A grand jury indicted the Fayetteville woman accused of killing her 2 adopted children. Avante Devon was indicted on 4 charges, including first-degree murder for the death of 11-year-old Blake Devon, her adopted son. According to the indictment, Devon intentionally deprived Blake of food. The lockdown at Riverside High School in Durham today has been lifted. The school was on lockdown after reports of a gun on campus. School officials tell us they are still trying to find out if anyone actually had a weapon.
Today, Wake County school leaders heard some more about adding speed cameras in school zones. Officials say these would help to curb dangerous driving near schools and bring in more revenue for the district. The board did not commit to these cameras exactly, with some members saying they want more data before making a decision like that. The district already has 27 stop arm cameras on buses and is adding 5 more. The Blue Ridge Parkway should be fully reopened by this fall, 2 years after Helene caused catastrophic damage to it. A few road closures are expected for several stretches of the parkway starting this month. Detour signs will be posted, of course. You can stay up to date on the closures on the National Park Service website. So the first day of the ACC tournament already bringing some drama.
Yeah, Pitt stunned Stanford, and that means we now know who NC State will play tomorrow. After the break, we take a trip to Murph's Turf to find out what we can expect from all of our local teams. Mike?
Ashley, we had a taste of summer with a record high at RDU and Fayetteville, both reaching 86. We've got another opportunity for a record high tomorrow, and then temperatures crash for Thursday. I'll show you that coming up.
The ACC tournament is now underway. Tomorrow really starts the fun for teams in our area. We now know that NC State will take on Pitt after the Panthers stunned Stanford. You know, there's really actually a lot at play for all of our local teams. Can the Pack shake off their recent rough patch? Can Carolina succeed without their fan favorite? And Duke is dealing with injuries too. You know, it's a lot to unpack. So let's take a trip to Murph's Turf. Murph, the ACC tournament kicks off. We are here now. March Madness getting underway. So let's first talk about what's different this year. Something that stands out. The ACC is looking stronger than in years past.
Yeah, last year the whole story was about how down the ACC was. They only got 4 teams in the tournament, and North Carolina barely got in. This year they're looking at maybe double that, maybe as many as 8, 9 teams possibly getting in the tournament. So it should make for a much better ACC tournament.
Local teams. NC State, a lot on the line for them.
Yeah, Will Wade's team headed in the wrong direction entering March. They've lost 6 of their last 7 games. Ever since they blew out Carolina, brought out the bedazzled belt, it's been all downhill for the Wolfpack. They've lost 4 in a row, blown out by Duke, blown out by Virginia, lost to Notre Dame, who's not even in the tournament, didn't even make the ACC field. The Wolfpack is probably in the NCAA tournament, but if they want to feel much better about Selection Sunday, they need a win or 2 in the ACC tournament.
You mentioned Duke. Let's talk about them. They want to go all the way. They do have some hurdles that they've got to overcome, though.
Yeah, Duke's down to a 7-man rotation for the ACC tournament. Caleb Foster, their starting point guard, out, likely for the season, won't be back until at least the Final Four, and maybe not even then. And then their center, Patrick Ngongba, is out as well. He is going to rest for the NCAA tournament because that's where they really want to shine, right? They won the ACC tournament last year with Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple. Nobody remembers it because they lost in the Final Four. John Shire looking for national title number 6, the first one without Mike Krzyzewski on the sidelines.
Yep.
Duke's eyes are on a different prize.
UNC also without one of their stars in Caleb Wilson. Can they really, how far can they go without Caleb Wilson?
Yeah, I think losing Caleb Wilson really just lowers the ceiling on this team. UNC's going to make the tournament. They've been pretty good without Caleb Wilson, 5-2 without him, but their high-end ability, I think, comes down a little bit. The chance for them to make a long run in March Madness or even a long run in this tournament probably lowered without having Caleb Wilson. That being said, you know, this team has played well, and we'll see what they can do in Charlotte.
Okay, so as we get this underway, what are you looking towards? Is there anything that's going to surprise you?
I think a surprise winner could come out of this. I mean, John Shire's already talked about how much his eyes are on the next tournament. They only have 7 players. Is it possible somebody finds a way to beat Duke, which has been nearly unbeatable this year? And with Carolina, you know, without Caleb Wilson, is there somebody in the middle of the pack, maybe Miami, that could make a run and kind of win a surprise title in Charlotte?
All right, Murph, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Always love a trip to the turf.
Yeah.
Mike, what's up with these temperatures? I still have
early.
I have my summer clothes in storage.
Yeah.
I'm just walking around in long sleeves, sweating everywhere.
Keep them there because you're going to need them on Thursday
man.
and all of next week. Yeah, winter is coming back, and winter is going to come back with a vengeance, and we're going to first feel it Thursday. But in the meantime, we had 86 today in Fayetteville and Raleigh. Tomorrow, another record high. We're forecasting at least 87. It could go above that. The record high is 85. 88 Fayetteville. The record high is 87. So, yeah, another record high. Likely to be the last for the month. Could it be the last 80s we see? That's a possibility. It's not a guarantee, but it is certainly a possibility. And we're not going to see the 80s this or next week at all. 80 still out at RDU, 718 the sunset. It is just going down right there. Pretty evening in progress. Nice to be outside with 80 at Rollsville, 79 at Wake Forest, 80 at Holly Springs, 79 in Cary, 79 right now in Chapel Hill and Carborough. So the big weather story tonight is going to be the severe weather breaking out across the plains. Tornado on the ground, it looks like just just near El Paso, or at least close by. And then up here, you have your warm front, where in Chicago, it was 39 about an hour ago. Across the front in Peoria, Illinois, it was 82. So you got the clash of air masses, you got the warm front. There are likely to be tornadoes. Could be EF2, EF3 or greater. There could be multiple ones as well. Join me tonight at 10 on Fox 50 and 11 on WRAL. We will investigate to see what's happening. There's actually a level 4 risk for severe weather there. Now, for tomorrow, it is a lesser risk, level 1 and 2 off to our west. And by the time the system gets here on Thursday, there's going to be a lack of storm energy or storm fuel. So it's not likely we'll have the same kind of weather upon us on Thursday. Might even be hard to generate a thunderstorm. So let's talk about Thursday. A lot going on. We'll start with warm weather after midnight. That's when our high will be. Probably see partly to mostly cloudy skies. 5 a.m. on Thursday, waking up to dry weather and warm weather. But watch what happens as we go through the morning. Here comes the rain. The front goes through, temperatures go down with the passage of the front. We have cloudy skies at 10 a.m., maybe 49 in Raleigh, 59 at Fayetteville, 43 at Roxborough. So when you leave the house in the morning on Thursday, you won't need a jacket from what we're seeing here, but then at some point during the morning, the temperatures will go down. There are multiple models that show the scenario. There's at least one, though, that doesn't get it quite this cold, but it does get cooler. By lunchtime, we're seeing the rain coming on in, not looking indicative of thunderstorms. By 2 o'clock, 51 in Raleigh, 53 Fayetteville, 52 at Roxborough. And also during this time period, there could be winds gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour. By 4 o'clock on the drive home and the kids coming home from school, likely to be rain in the area. And by 7 o'clock, it's pushing out. The front has passed. Colder air is coming in. By the time we wake up Friday morning, there could be a blend of the upper 20s to low 30s. There have been a lot of things blooming. My blueberries are blooming, and they could be in jeopardy, not just Friday morning, but next week, too. So we've got the wind on Thursday. We've got a windy Friday, 64. Winds Friday could gust 30 to 35. Dry day Saturday, beautiful for the St. Patrick's Day parade in downtown Raleigh. Rain on Sunday, rain on Monday. After this front goes through, we'll really feel the change. 48 the high with partly cloudy skies, the morning low 33. By Wednesday morning, we'll be in the 20s and 30s, so the freeze is coming back.
Wow. All right, Mike. Hey, I want to bring you a quick update on that SWAT situation in Cary. You heard Grace Holland give us that first update at the top of the hour. So this is happening on Transom View Way. We now know 53-year-old Todd Michael Hollerman went into custody. He was arrested in reference on a domestic violence protection order violation. So he's being transported to the Wake County Detention Center. Just wanted to get you that latest update there.
As we continue, I know we talked about the ACC tournament. I know those guys are pretty impressive, but remember the name Nikel Rogers, because the junior college player from Zebulon just scored 17 three-pointers in a single game, a record. So what's next for him? What's our one last thing? Maybe some of your feedback, too, after the break. One last thing for you tonight as the NCC men's tournament gets underway. We want to highlight a basketball player from our area who made 17 three-pointers in a single game.
Nikel Rogers is from Zebulon. He plays for Guilford Tech. His performance against Pitt Community College breaks a junior college league record. That's better than the Division I record. No player has scored more than 15 in a game.
Here's some video from this historic moment. 3 after 3 after 3. His teammates just kept feeding him. And it's not like he was chucking up shots every single possession. Rogers hardly missed. He went 17 for 23, shooting all three-pointers. In the end, he scored 54 points. It's the kind of performance that might actually land him a D1 team next season.
It's probably the least amount of in-game coaching that I've done in a long time, because that really was the strategy. If he's open, give it to him. It could not have happened to a better kid. He's a really good person from a good family, and we're real excited for him.
I'll probably say after the second one, like I can just tell on the release, I'm like, yeah, that's cash. So when I shoot, I'm already ready to go run back on defense. I'm not really like this celebratory type. So, I'm just staying focused on the game, and then I just kept doing my job.
Well, he may not be the celebratory type, but take a look at this. After the game, Rogers had a big celebration waiting for him in the locker room. The team sprayed water all over him, cheering and clapping for their star teammate. Rogers says schools all over the country have been contacting him after his record-breaking game, but he never forgets his roots, growing up in Zebulon, watching Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and rooting for the Tar Heels with his father.
I come from little to nothing, so I had to work really hard to get where I am, and I didn't expect to get where I am now, and now I'm here. So that belief factor is really kicked in, and I think it should be kicked in for kids that started when I was my age, when I started at 9 years old. So I feel like they should always believe and keep working, because eventually something will happen.
Let's go. We're going to watch this guy, see what his career does. Rogers and his coach tell us that there are so many opportunities for young players to get involved at the junior college level. It's a great way to continue playing sports and get an education. Rogers tells us he's studying business entrepreneurship.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. He is one to watch. I'm excited for him. Very cool. Hey, we want to get to some feedback from you watching at home tonight. A viewer named Vicky wrote, wasps everywhere. I've seen a lot of wasps around. I have them at home, and I saw a lot at Dick's Park today. Is there a reason they're so bad right now? I don't know. Have you seen them?
This is a perfect question, because not everything has to be about politics or parking rates or anything. Ask us anything that's on your mind. I got a harrowing story earlier from my 4 p.m. co-anchor, Michelle McConaughey, who was chased by a wasp today.
Oh, no.
So maybe she's writing in with a pseudonym or something. But I don't know. But we'll figure it out. We're on wasp detail.
Dan is going to go searching for wasps tomorrow, okay? Once again, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Please do send us your questions. Send us your feedback. We love hearing from you.
Have a fantastic night. Thanks for watching WRAL News at 7 o'clock.